Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. So right now we're in this awkward situation where you've got two different groups of people, both trying to sell you a different version of reality. And honestly, in a way, it makes sense. One group of people will send you a certain set of polls and tell you that Donald Trump is done. Kamala Harris has totally shifted the dynamic of this race. She's winning everywhere. It's freaking game over. And then another group of people will link you another set of polls that essentially show the exact opposite. Now, obviously, you've seen all the polls where Kamala Harris is leading. The media won't frickin' shut up about it. Every leftist blue check mark, all the paid Kamala shills, getting nice, juicy promotional checks from Paulette management media, literally won't shut up about it. One poll after another, I mean, they're just being spammed in our face. I'm sure you've seen that before. But what about the polls that they aren't linking? What about the polls that might be suggesting the collapse of this Kamala Harris campaign mirage? Or maybe not collapse, not the right word, more like dissipation. The dissipation of this mirage might already be beginning. Let's get right back to the polling analysis. It's not frickin' over till the fat lady sings, folks. And really, this thing is just getting started. Let's get a look at the full picture. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so I'm sure you guys have seen all the leftist polls. If I'm not mistaken, I think there was a Bloomberg poll that was released quite recently that showed Kamala Harris essentially stealing the lead in every single key battleground state. The suggestion is not only that Kamala Harris has changed this race and tightened the margins, but that overnight she's essentially completely undone all the work that the Trump campaign has done over the last 12 months, and that means every single Trump lead is simply vaporized. Well, I guess it's a who do you believe kind of situation. Yes, Bloomberg is suggesting that. But then again, on the other side of polling, and some would argue from pollsters that are much more historically accurate, well, we're seeing a completely different story. I'm sure that you guys remember Trafalgar polls. Actually, I kind of feel the need to say that. I mean, we haven't really seen much of Trafalgar lately. They don't seem to be releasing too many polls, but following Kamala Harris's little media blitz here, they just released a brand new poll covering some of the most important swing states, and these are the results that they just got. This poll was conducted on the 8th of August with 800 likely voters from each respective state. So that's a huge sample size. And supposedly, according to this set of polls, sure, the race has tightened a little bit, and of course there might be a little bit of concern in places like Michigan. It seems as though Trump is still in a commanding position. You know, I'd like to mention that back in 2016, Hillary Clinton was up in the polls by roughly around 5% on average, this time during the year back then. And well, back then there were a couple pollsters who had their finger on the pulse of the country and who correctly predicted a massive Trump electoral victory, a total underdog, unexpected victory of historic proportion. And if my memory serves me correct, I remember two of those pollsters being Insider Advantage and the Trafalgar Group. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. And if that's not directly correct, well then these two pollsters were outliers at the time and maybe they didn't predict the exact result, but they were much closer than all the other mainstream pollsters that in many cases have higher scores, higher ratings, or reputations. In other words, this poll means something. You know, Democrats love to project confidence, but trust me when I tell you polls like this are chipping away at that confidence. And look, it's not just the swing state polls. Polling in general seems to be coming back to the real world. Now this could be outdated by the time we release the video tomorrow, but as of right now, this is the way things stand. And actually, this might be telling us exactly what's happening in a visual form. Let me get a good snippet of this for you guys. So essentially here we have the Kamala Harris-Trump polling outlook from right before Joe Biden resigned to present day. As you see, Trump was maintaining his lead above Kamala Harris as expected, especially considering a couple months prior the results looked something like this. So anyways, if you take a look at the bottom here, Trump is leading quite comfortably, and then slowly the media blitz occurs, and all of a sudden, Kamala Harris completely flips the race. But now the last two polls that have released, that's the Rasmussen and CNBC poll, are showing Trump back on top again. So I guess this begs the question, that little blue blip on the radar, let's call it, is it simply a momentary little flash? Is Kamala Harris really going to be able to continue to dominate in every single poll consistently? You know, it's really no surprise to see her making gains in Morning Consult and NPR polls, Marquette polls, Ipsos, Civics. We expect more volatility in these polls. You know, you tend to see fluctuation or these huge, massive leads and margins in a lot of these polls. It makes for a good headline, but if you really isolate for the best pollsters here, it's still essentially within the margin of error or still in Trump's favor. INI/TIPP is a fantastic pollster. In the Kamala honeymoon period, they only have her up +1. CBS News only has her up +1. Rasmussen is pretty much unchanged. CNBC relatively unchanged as well. And now we have Trafalgar essentially showing the same thing. You know, we might have seen a little bit of excitement in all of these left-wing push polls, but we might slowly have to come back to reality here. And so I really wouldn't be surprised if the numbers start to tighten, or really if Kamala Harris starts to drop like rocks here. You know, like I always mentioned, we've seen these Kamala spikes before, where she spikes in the poll. It's never been sustainable in the past. Well, it might not be sustainable this time. And look, I know I sound like a little bit of a broken record these days, saying this over and over again, but I think everybody's asking the same question. It's not just me. How long can Kamala Harris actually last here? Even CNN seems to have their doubts.
Now, but she hasn't sat down for a formal interview, though she said that she told her aides that she wants to by the end of the week, or the month, I should say. Maybe by the end of this week. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it will be. By the end of but you have that. She hasn't really rolled out significant views on her policy, although she said her economic policy platform will be coming out. And, the race isn't necessarily going to be smooth sailing for her ahead as we wait for these issues. But when
the race isn't going to be smooth sailing forever, and this little honeymoon blitz here, well, it might just be her ceiling. It might be the best that they could do, the best that they could muster, because now Democrats run into a very similar situation that they've found themselves in over the last 4 years, and that's the issue of their political candidate now has to speak. That was obviously an issue with Joe Biden, and it's clearly also an issue with Kamala Harris.
When we talk about the children of the community, they are children of the community.
She's got to maintain these honeymoon polling numbers. That requires substance that I believe Kamala Harris is severely lacking. I mean, nobody can say anything good about her, not even her own rally goers.
Name one thing that Kamala has done in office that you liked.
I'm losing my thought. Sorry. Help.
Can I phone a friend?
I can't really give you an answer to that question.
The coconut tree meme.
She took her time.
How much more time does she need?
She's good now.
There is great significance to the passage of time.
Nobody's got anything. People are just saying, Kamala 2024, I'm with her. Oh yeah, Kamala's so brat. But almost none of them can actually explain the why. Kind of an important thing in the midst of a heated election, don't you think? Eventually, the chickens are gonna come home to roost. Eventually, the makeup's gonna come off. I'll just keep saying it. I don't think this thing is sustainable, and I think we're already starting to see it in the polls. Possibly a fake narrative-driven little push-pull propaganda blitz that might have already lost some steam. Maybe. Hopefully. A little bit of hopium, a little bit of copium, not gonna lie. But at least I got some data to back up my theory. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Those are the polls that the media doesn't want you to know exists. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.